In the dark corners of the galaxy, the Varnock Empire ruled with iron claws. For 1,000 years, they hunted weaker races, burned their worlds, and took whatever they wanted. No species dared to fight back. Every rebellion ended with entire planets turned to ash. Varnock called themselves the Lords of the Stars. But something strange started to happen. It began with a single warship, the Iron Talon, a powerful destroyer-class ship carrying 2,000 soldiers. It entered the Zern system on a routine patrol. Then, nothing. No signals, no distress call. Just gone. At first, the Empire thought it was a technical fault. They sent another ship, the Bloodfang, to investigate. It followed the same route. It vanished too. Panic started to whisper inside the Empire's war rooms. They sent a fleet of 5 warships, fully armed, under Admiral Korak, one of their best hunters. They left with confidence. They never returned. This time, the last transmission chilled the hearts of every Varnock leader. A voice, human, calm, almost whispering, crackled through the speakers. You started this? The signal ended. Varnock didn't understand. The humans? They were traitors, miners, weak creatures living on the edge of the galaxy. They had no armies, no powerful fleets. The Varnock had ignored them for centuries. They called them harmless, but now starships were disappearing. Fleets were vanishing. And always, that same voice. The Empire called a secret meeting in their core world, the generals argued. Some said it was a rival empire playing games. Others believed it was some human trick. But deep down, they all felt it, a silent fear, crawling into their bones. On the edge of the galaxy, a human cargo ship floated in space, alone, waiting. It looked old, unarmed. But hidden inside the dark hull, Commander Eric Vance watched his screen with cold eyes. His crew sat in silence. No lights, no noise, just waiting. A Varnock warship appeared in the distance, a giant predator in the blackness. Its scanners stretched out, searching. Eric smiled. On my mark, he said softly. The human ship didn't move. The Varnock didn't suspect. They approached, ready to fire. Now, a shadow moved. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't metal. It was something else. A black shape slid from behind a moon, silent as death. It had no engines, no heat, nothing the Varnock scanners could see. But it moved fast, too fast. The Varnock screamed as their ship's systems froze. Blink. Weapons locked. Engines died. The last thing they heard was a human voice inside their command bridge. We hunt the hunters. Then darkness. Eric leaned back. Another one down. His crew didn't cheer. They simply nodded. This wasn't a war for medals. This was payback. Years ago, the Varnock raided human colonies. They killed civilians. They destroyed homes. And they thought humans would forget. They were wrong. On the Empire's core world, Supreme Commander Vorsk stood in front of a map showing red lights. Varnock fleets disappearing one by one. He clenched his fists. This is impossible. He growled. No, sir, a young officer said. This is human revenge. Vorsk slammed his fist on the table. They have no fleets. They have no army. The officer's voice shook. Maybe they don't need an army. Vorsk stared at him. He didn't know whether to laugh or scream. Somewhere across the stars, the humans had changed. The Empire didn't see it coming. Eric's ship moved silently across space. They didn't leave wrecks. They didn't leave survivors. Every time, they took what they needed, information, codes, secrets, and wiped the rest. The galaxy would think the ships just vanished. They wanted the Empire afraid, on a hidden human station. Deep in the void, leaders of human outposts gathered. These weren't politicians. They were commanders, fighters, spies. We've started. Something big, one of them said. They'll come after us with everything. Eric stood in front of them. His eyes burned cold. Let them. A silence fell. They called us weak. They called us prey. Eric's voice was low. Now they'll know we were watching, waiting, preparing. Another voice spoke. And if we fail? Eric didn't blink. We don't fail. Send a message. Humans are not prey. The Empire sent a hunter fleet, their deadliest ships, invisible silent killers. They followed a human cargo freighter through deep space. They locked weapons, prepared to strike then. Their screens went black. A soft voice spoke inside their command centers. You shouldn't have come here, the Varnak captain screamed. Fire, fire. But the weapons refused to obey. The ship's walls started to twist, metal bending. Like paper, one by one. The hunter ships disappeared from every scanner in the galaxy. Eric watched from a hidden command post. His crew watched with him. One whispered, "They're gone." Eric's eyes stayed on the screen. They'll send more. And they did. The Empire ordered a massive attack fleet, 50 warships. They headed toward the human colonies, planning to wipe them out. But when they reached the human sectors, they found nothing. Empty space. Dead silence. The only thing waiting for them was a single human ship. The resolve it sent a single message to the entire fleet. We're already behind. You. The Varnak ships spun around and saw hundreds of human vessels emerging from the void. They didn't show weapons. They didn't need to. The Empire's fleet turned and ran. The message spread across the galaxy. Humans weren't running. Humans were hunting. Every world whispered about the human shadow fleet. Ships no one could see. Weapons no one understood. The Varnak Empire, once proud, once mighty, now sent spies instead of soldiers. They begged for information. They tried to learn human secrets, but every spy vanished. Eric stood on the bridge of his ship, watching stars pass by. His crew waited for orders. He spoke softly. We don't want war, the young officer asked. Then why are we doing this? Eric turned his eyes toward the dark. Because they need to fear us before they can respect us. In the Empire's High Council, the Emperor himself demanded answers. His generals spoke of human tricks, dark technology, impossible tactics, but none could explain the simple fact the Empire was losing without a single open battle, and the humans were everywhere. One night, in the Emperor's private chamber, a device blinked on his desk. He picked it up. It was a small, human-made cube. It played a message, ericsvoice.com. Cold, you started this. We'll finish it when we choose. The cube melted into dust. The Emperor stared at the ashes, his hands shaking. Out there, somewhere, humans hunted, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council Hall was a place of power. Here, rulers of great alien empires met, argued, and controlled the fate of hundreds of worlds. Out, every wall was lined with banners of ancient conquests. The air itself smelled of fear and respect. On this day, the hall was full of whispers. The Varnak Empire had called an emergency meeting. All the rulers came, the Talak warlords, the Zoran hive queens, the cold-blooded Norian senators. They came because they all heard the same news. Human ships were hunting the hunters, for the first time in 1,000 years. The Varnak Empire didn't come boasting. They came afraid. Supreme Commander Vorsk entered with slow, heavy steps. His eyes burned, but his mouth stayed shut. The others expected him to speak first. But today, even Vorsk didn't know what to say. A hologram in the center of the room showed a map of the galaxy. Red lights blinked, each one a Varnak warship that had disappeared. 100 lights. Gone. No battles, no survivors. No answers. Vorsk finally spoke. His voice was low, sharp. We called them weak. We called them harmless. But they are not. Humans have changed. The hall stayed silent. One of the hive queens hissed, "Are you asking us to fear them?" Vorsk shook his head. "I am telling you, we already do." The Talak warlord slammed his fist. "We are conquerors. We do not fear prey," before anyone could speak. The doors of the great hall opened. Every ruler turned to look. A human entered. Alone. He wasn't wearing armor. No guards walked beside him. He didn't even wear a weapon, just a dark coat, simple boots. His face was calm, like a man walking into a meeting of friends. Behind him, Dragged in chains was a Varnock admiral, one of their best. His armor was broken. His head hung low. The human walked to the center of the council floor. He let the chains drop with a loud clang. The silence hit harder than a weapon. Vorsic stared. His mouth opened, then closed. He finally spoke with a dry voice. "Who are you?" The human looked around the hall. His eyes moved slowly over every ruler, every warlord, every queen. "My name is Eric Vance," he said softly. "I speak for humanity." The Zoran queen clicked her claws. "You dare to bring a prisoner to this hall?" Eric nodded once. "Yes, I do." The Talic warlord growled. "We should kill you where you stand." Eric's eyes met his. "Try." The word was soft, calm, but it felt like a blade cutting through the room. No one moved. Vorsk stepped forward. "What do you want, human?" Eric took a small device from his coat. He pressed a button. The map of the galaxy changed. Green lights blinked over hundreds of systems, systems the council thought were safe. Eric spoke without raising his voice. "We have been watching. We have been waiting. Every fleet you sent against us, every spy, every hunter is gone." Pointed to the lights, "This is where our ships are now." Gasps echoed. The green lights were inside their own home systems, not near them, inside them. Vorsk felt his claws shake. Impossible. Eric met his eyes. "You never saw us coming." The Norian senator whispered, "What do you want?" Eric looked around again. His face stayed calm, cold, patient. "You will sign a treaty," he said. "With humanity, you will leave human space. You will not send warships near our borders. You will treat every human colony with respect. You will stop the slave raids. And if you ever attack again—" He let the words hang in the air. Vorsk forced a laugh. Or what? Eric pressed another button. A screen showed a video. A Varnak battleship exploding in silence. Crushed from inside, the room went dead silent. Eric spoke softly, "Or you will vanish." Like the others, the council sat frozen.
No one moved.
No one blinked. Eric placed the device on the table. "You have 1 day to decide." He turned and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he spoke without turning around. "We don't bluff." The doors closed behind him. For a long time, the rulers of the galaxy sat in silence. And then, one by one, I signed the treaty. Not because they wanted peace, but because they now knew the truth. Humans were not prey, and the galaxy would never rule
them again.
The Varnock Empire never accepted defeat easily. They signed the treaty, yes, but in their hearts they burned with anger. The council agreed to peace with humans, but the Varnock called it a trick. They believed humans had used fear, not power. Supreme. Commander Vorsk gathered his secret council inside a shadowed war chamber. The walls were lined with hunter medals, awards given only to those who crushed enemies without mercy. We were humiliated in front of the entire galaxy. Vorsk said, "But now we will show the truth." His generals nodded. They all shared the same plan. The Empire had a secret weapon, their hunter fleet, ships built in darkness, ships with silent drives and cloaking systems. These hunter ships were not part of the official navy. They were the shadow blades of the Empire, unseen, unheard, unbeaten. The humans had never faced them. Vorsk gave the order. 5 hunter. Their mission was simple. Follow a human cargo vessel, track it to its home base, and destroy everything. The hunters followed the human ship through empty space. They watched its every move. The human vessel looked weak, a rusty cargo hauler. Drifting alone near an asteroid field, the hunter commander smiled in the darkness of his ship. They won't see us coming. They armed their weapons. They waited for the right moment, but as they locked targets, something strange happened. The human cargo ship stopped moving. No alarms, no escape attempt. It simply drifted. The hunter. Commander frowned. He ordered a scan. No response. No signal. He gave the order. Attack now. The hunter ships fired. Beams of energy raced toward the cargo vessel and passed right through it. The ship flickered and vanished. The hunter commander stood up in shock. a hologram. Before he could react, his ship shuddered. Lights flickered.
Lights.
The engine screamed, and then died. Report. Shouted. No answer. On every hunter ship, the same thing happened. Controls froze, weapons locked. Power drained away like water into the void. Then, they heard it. A voice inside their own command rooms, calm. Cold, human, we don't run. We hunt. The hunter commander grabbed his sidearm. He pointed it at the walls, at shadows. But there was nothing. Only the voice. Then, darkness swallowed the ship. One by one, the hunter ships vanished from every scanner in the galaxy. No explosions. No escape pods. No traces. Just gone. On a hidden human command ship. Eric Vance watched the screen as the dots representing the hunter ships blinked out. His crew stood behind him in silence. A young officer whispered, "That was fast." Eric nodded. "We gave them a chance. They chose this." Another officer asked, "How did we even catch them?"
Oh.
No one could detect hunter ships. Eyes stayed on the empty screen. We built better shadows. Humans had learned the Empire's tactics. They didn't build bigger weapons. They built smarter ones. Shadow-class vessels. Ships that didn't just hide from scanners. They became part of space itself. They didn't leave heat. They didn't make sound. They didn't even show reflections. And they hunted like silent ghosts in the Empire's war chamber. Vorsk stared at the empty reports. His generals stood silent. 5 hunter ships. Gone. Vorsk clenched his claws. This can't be. A spy. Master shook his head. It happened. Vorsk growled. They must have used a massive fleet. The spy master spoke in a soft voice. No fleets were seen. No ships were reported. They simply vanished. Vorsk slammed the table. Impossible. The war chamber echoed with silence. Somewhere across the stars, humans were watching, and they were sending a message the Empire couldn't ignore. Eric stood inside his ship's command center. The stars moved slowly outside the dark glass. His officers worked quietly, knowing their mission wasn't over. One of them said, "They'll send more. They'll send everything." Eric nodded. "Let them. They didn't want war. Wouldn't run." The message was simple. Humans don't bluff. And now, the galaxy was learning it the hard way. The Varnock Empire refused to believe what was happening. They sent fleets. They sent hunter ships. They even sent spies. All failed. The humans were always one step ahead. Ships vanished. Commanders disappeared. Codes were stolen. The Empire's. Leaders met in the shadows of their command citadel, a place built on a dark moon, hidden from all scanners. Vorsk stood at the center, glaring at the gathered officers. His voice echoed cold and sharp. "We will capture a human alive. A weapon. Maker, we will take their secrets." The plan was simple. The Empire would send a special team, not soldiers, but black agents. The best spies and hunters, trained to disappear in crowds, to walk among enemies without being seen. Their mission? Capture a human engineer. Find out how humans made these ghost ships. Discover the secret. The team moved quickly. They landed on a neutral trade station near the Outer Rim, a place full of travelers, smugglers, and merchants. Humans walked among aliens there. Some traded, some worked as technicians. Others traveled for business. The Empire's team moved like shadows. They watched. They waited, and they found him. Human named Mason Hart, a systems engineer working on starship engines. He looked normal, young, calm. He smiled a lot. Talked little. He lived in a simple room, the perfect target. The Empire's hunters moved in at night. They broke into his quarters. Silent, swift. But when they entered, Mason was already awake. He sat on the bed, watching them. No fear, no surprise. One hunter aimed a weapon. "You will come with us." Mason smiled. "I know." The hunters froze. Something felt wrong. Before they could move, the walls around them shifted, melting away like mist, vanished. The room disappeared. They stood in a dark chamber, alone, surrounded by silent human. Soldiers Mason stood in front of them. "You came for our secrets?" he asked. The lead hunter growled, raising his weapon. Hal Mason spoke before he finished. "It's not the ship," Mason said softly. "It's who's inside." The hunter fired. The bullet stopped midair, frozen in place. The hunters screamed, but their voices died in silence. In seconds, they were gone. On board a hidden human command ship, Eric watched the security feed. Mason stood beside him. Eric nodded. "Well done." Mason smiled lightly. "They thought we built weapons." Eric's eyes stayed cold. "We build minds." The human secret wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a ship. It was the people. Human pilots didn't fly machines. They became part of them, linked minds with the ship cores. They moved faster than any computer, thought quicker than any AI. Their ships weren't controlled by buttons or orders. They moved like living shadows, because in a way, they were. The Empire never understood it. They believed in power bigger, guns, stronger ships, heavier armor. But the humans built something else. They built ghost fleets, flown by human minds, ready to hunt. The captured hunters were never seen again. The message spread fast. The humans didn't fight like anyone else. They didn't need numbers. They didn't need size. They only needed themselves. Vorsk stood in his war chamber, gripping the edge of the command table. Ports floated before him, blurred with red alerts. One general dared to speak. They used mind-linked ships. Vorsk growled. "No machine can think like that." The general whispered, "A human can." Vorsk slammed his clawed fist. Impossible. But inside, felt it. A cold truth sinking into his bones. They had called humans weak. They had called them simple. But the real human weapon wasn't a ship. It was a human. And now, the Empire realized they couldn't stop what they couldn't even understand. The Varnock Empire had enough. They stopped sending hunter ships. They stopped sending spies. They stopped waiting. Now they prepared for war. It was no secret. The Empire ordered every fleet under its command to gather. Warships from every system came together. Battleships, destroyers, carrier fleets, the largest armada the galaxy had ever seen. 100,000 ships, storm of power. They marched toward Earth. The Varnock plan was simple. Strike first, strike hard. Wipe out the human homeworld before they could react. No tricks, no hunting. It's only fire and fear. The galaxy watched in silence. Every ruler, every race held their breath. No one had ever dared attack the heart of the Varnock Empire. Now, the humans stood alone against them, or so they thought. As the Varnock fleet reached the Sol system, they prepared to attack. They charged weapons. They aimed at Earth. But when the first warship scanned the planet, something felt wrong. The scanners showed no defense grid, no fleet, no human army, and worse, no humans. The planet was silent, empty. Not even cities remained. The Varnock commanders screamed orders. They checked the data again, still nothing. Vorsk, leading from the flagship, growled in anger. "Where are they?" Before anyone could answer. The alarms began. Ships reported strange signals behind them, shadows in the void. Vorsk spun around. The scanners showed them now, hundreds of human ships. They weren't coming from Earth. They were already behind the Varnock fleet. Inside there, space, the humans didn't come to defend. They came to strike. Eric Vance stood on the bridge of the human flagship. His voice stayed calm. "Send the message. Cross the Varnock fleet." A single broadcast echoed on every channel. "We're all ready. Home." The Varnock commanders panicked. Ships tried to turn, form ranks. But the human fleet moved first. They didn't fire massive weapons. They didn't launch missiles. They hacked. The Empire's systems crashed. Weapons shut down. Shields flickered. Engines died. The Varnock flagship lost control in seconds. Vorsk shouted in rage. "Fight back! Fight!" But there was nothing to fight. The humans moved like shadows, striking without being seen. In less than an hour, the greatest armada in the galaxy floated. Dead in space, the humans didn't destroy them. They didn't have to. They simply took away their power. Eric watched from his command deck. His officers remained silent, waiting. One asked, "What now?" Eric gave a simple answer. "We send the message, they'll never forget." On every Varnic ship, screens lit up. They showed the same words. In every language, we could have been friends. Then, the human fleet vanished, like they were never there. The Varnic armada drifted helplessly in space. No weapons, no shields, no hope. The Empire's heart broke that day, not by war, by the truth they never believed. The humans never wanted this war, but they ended it their way. The Varnock Empire had never tasted fear like this. Their grand armada was left floating, powerless, humiliated. The galaxy saw it happen. Every world, every system whispered the same word. Humans. But Vorsk refused to surrender. He returned to the Empire's core world, Zarak Prime, the center of Varnak power. The planet was a fortress, surrounded by defense rings, guarded by the strongest Ayas. It was impossible to invade. Vorsk believed nothing could touch him there. He gathered his remaining generals. They sat inside the Emperor's war chamber, a black hall of steel and shadow. The walls displayed old victories, trophies of conquered worlds. Vorsk slammed his fist on the war table. His voice echoed like thunder. "We will rebuild. We will hunt these humans down to the last colony." The generals cheered. The Empire would rise again. But none of them noticed the small flicker in the chamber lights. It was too soft, too brief, a shadow in the systems. The Emperor himself entered the hall, his long robe dragged across the polished floor. His crown glowed with dark jewels. He looked at Vorsk with cold eyes. "I heard your words," the Emperor said. "Supreme Commander, how do you plan to stop a ghost?" Vorsk straightened. "With force, my Emperor. It's with fear the humans will run." The Emperor nodded slowly then. A soft beep echoed in the chamber. The walls began to change. The victory. Screens turned dark, the lights dimmed, and every system in the Imperial Palace shut down. The generals looked around in shock. "What is this?" One shouted. The Emperor stared at the flickering walls. He touched his command ring. Nothing happened. A voice echoed in the hall. Calm, quiet, human. "You ruled by fear. We ruled by choice." The Emperor's eyes widened. No, the walls displayed a new image. The human symbol at Eric Vance stood on every screen, his face emotionless. "You built an empire on control," Eric said. "Now, watch it fall." The palace doors locked. The guards' weapons powered down. The defense. AI shut off. The Emperor roared, "Get this off!" But it was too late. Outside, the city lights flickered. Across the planet, every system collapsed. The Empire's heart stopped beating. The humans hadn't fired a shot. They didn't send soldiers. They turned the Empire's own systems against them. And in the Emperor's own chamber, soft. Started. The walls began to crack. The palace shook. Vorsk grabbed the Emperor. "We must escape."
Damn.
But the Emperor stared at the screen at Eric's face. He whispered, "They're inside everything." The palace exploded from within. A silent blast of light tore through the skyline. The Empire's symbol burned away. The Varnock Empire fell, not by weapons, but by the hands of its own machines. And in the ashes of the broken throne, a single, human-made note was found, handwritten. Simple words: "You ruled by fear. We rule by choice." The message spread across the stars. The humans didn't need armies. They just needed to remind the galaxy. You can't rule those who refuse to be afraid. The Varnic Empire was gone. Its fleet scattered, its systems dead. Its palace turned to ash. But the galaxy was not celebrating. They were afraid. The rulers of the other great empires gathered in a hidden station far from the known routes. Number. Banners? No guards? Just fear. The Talak warlords, Zoran hive queens, Honorian senators. All came with the same question burning inside. Would the humans come for them next? They remembered how humans had warned them, how humans never bluffed, and now. The strongest empire had fallen without a single real battle. They sat in a silent chamber, their voices low, their hearts full of fear. And then the humans came. Not an army, not a fleet. Just one ship. It arrived without sound. It docked without warning. And from it, Eric Vance stepped out alone. No guards, no weapons. Just a small case in his hand. He walked into the chamber. The rulers stared at him. None spoke. Eric placed the case on the table and opened it. Inside was a small device, no larger than a coin. He looked at them with calm eyes. "This is your offer," Eric said. The Talak warlord growled. "What kind of weapon is that?" Smiled lightly. "Not a weapon, a choice." He spoke clearly. "You will join a new alliance, built on trust, on respect, on peace, or you will choose the other path." The Norian senator leaned forward. "And if we refuse?" Eric tapped the device once. It blinked all around the chamber. Every ruler felt a soft buzz in their pockets. They reached inside. Each of them found a coin-like device. None of them knew how it got there. Eric spoke softly. "You won't refuse." The rulers froze. Eric looked around the chamber. "We are not here to conquer," he said. "We are not here to rule." He let the words sink in. "But if you threaten us, you'll disappear." He closed the case. The Zoran hive queen hissed. "You expect us to trust you after what you did?" Eric met her gaze. "We expect you to remember." He stood slowly. "Choose peace or vanish." The rulers said nothing. They COULD in single quotes. Because in their hands, the devices kept blinking. And deep inside, they knew. The humans weren't bluffing, not now, not ever. When Eric left the chamber, the rulers looked at each other. One by one, they signed the alliance. Not because they wanted peace, but because they finally understood. The humans didn't want control. They only wanted respect. And no one wanted to see what happened when humans were disrespected. The galaxy changed. No war was declared. No fleets marched. No battles were fought. Yet the change came anyway, silent and powerful. The humans didn't rule the stars with guns. They didn't build an empire with fear. They simply became. Everywhere, trade stations across systems now had human traders. Border worlds welcomed human peacekeepers. Old enemy planets opened. Markets to human merchants. Not because they wanted to, but because they knew the truth. Behind every smiling human face was a shadow no one wanted to wake. Eric Vance became a name known across the galaxy. Not as a warlord, not as a conqueror, but as the man who offered peace with a warning that never needed repeating. On Earth, life returned. Cities grew. Colonies expanded. But the world stayed simple, quiet. The humans didn't build a new empire. They built a council, the human order, a system of alliances, deals, and silent promises. The message was clear in every sector. Work with humans or disappear. The old empires stayed alive. They kept their flags. Their rulers sat on their thrones. But they all knew who truly kept the galaxy balanced now. The humans never attacked again. They never sent fleets. But sometimes, a ship vanished in the dark. A planet's leader went missing. A warlord's fleet drifted, silent in space. And people whispered, "The humans never forget, and they never forgive." No one wanted to test them again, Eric. Vance walked alone on a trade station's deck, looking out into the stars. A young officer walked beside him. "Sir, some say we rule the galaxy now." Eric shook his head slowly. "We don't rule," he said. "We remind." The officer frowned. "Remind them of what?" Eric looked at the stars. Endless, dark, silent. "That humans are never prey." The officer nodded. Across the galaxy, worlds prospered. Trade flowed. Peace held. But every leader, every soldier, every ruler knew peace existed because the humans allowed it. And somewhere, in the shadows of space, the hunters still watched,